Hi there. Today we looked at how to determine a limit analytically, building on what we did yesterday with determining limits numerically and graphically. So I have here two problems to illustrate what we learned. First one is number 54. It says the limit as x approaches 0 of the square root of 2 plus x minus the square root of 2 all over x. Our first step with solving analytically is to plug in. Right, to take this 0 or whatever number x is approaching and plug it into the equation, because if we get a number, right, because that would show that the equation was continuous, we'd be able to say that that number was the limit. Or if we get a number over 0, we'd say that that was an asymptote and it did not exist. So when we go ahead and plug in 0 here, we get root 2 plus 0 minus root 2 all over 0, which is root 2 minus root 2 over 0, which is 0 over 0. And right there, when we get 0 over 0, this is neither a limit as far as an answer goes, nor is it a does not exist, right? Because a does not exist would be a number over 0. So when you see 0 over 0, that's your cue to look back at the original problem and say, is there any sort of algebraic manipulation we could do to simplify this function within the limit before we plugged in? So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite what we wrote up there. The limit as x approaches 0 of the square root of 2 plus x minus root 2 all over x. So there are different techniques you can use, and we talked about 3 of them in class. Factoring, multiplying by a conjugate, or simplifying by getting rid of the complex fraction. In this particular case, I noticed the square root, and that usually is my cue that it's probably going to be multiplying by the conjugate. And so we're going to take this root 2 plus x minus root 2, and we're going to times our function by root 2 plus x plus root 2. All right, same terms, different sign in the middle. But because we aren't actually looking to change the function, we're wanting to keep it the same, equivalent, so we're going to multiply this by 1, which means doing the same thing to the bottom that we do to the top. Okay, so now we can go ahead and take the next simplification step. Limit as x approaches 0 of, we're going to go ahead and FOIL this because it's a conjugate. We do our first root 2x times root 2x, and we're left with 2 plus x. I'm sorry. Root 2 plus x times root 2 plus x, and we get 2 plus x. Okay, and then we do our outside times our inside, but the nature of a conjugate is that when we do our outside and our inside, they'll end up canceling each other out. And then we have our last. Negative root 2 times positive root 2, which is negative 2. All over, and then don't distribute or FOIL or expand in any sort of way the denominator. Like we said in class, 9 times out of 10, you'll end up simplifying, so you don't want to expand it because then you'll end up having to undo that expansion. Okay, so we're just going to set this x and the quantity over here next to each other. Okay, so the next simplification step I see, the limit as x approaches 0, 2 minus 2 is 0. Okay. And we're left with just x over x times the quantity, root 2 plus x plus root 2. Okay. Which means the x's are going to cancel, so we're going to be left with the limit as x approaches 0 of 1 over the square root of 2 plus x plus root 2. Okay, and then we can go ahead and substitute it in at this point, take this 0 and plug it into our equation, and we'll get 1 over root 2 plus 0 plus root 2, which is 1 over 2 root 2, or if you multiply top and bottom by root 2 over 4. Okay, next I've got number 52 here, which is the limit as x approaches 4 of x squared minus 5x plus 4 all over x squared minus 2x minus 8. Okay. Again, first step is always to plug in. So we have 4 squared minus 5 times 4 plus 4 all over 4 squared minus 2 times 4 minus 8. So we get 16 minus 20 plus 4 over 16 minus 8 minus 8, which is 0 over 0. And remember, that's our cue. We need to go back to that original and see if there's any algebraic manipulation we can do. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite our original limit as x approaches 4 of x squared minus 5x plus 4 all over x squared minus 2x minus 8. Looking at that, the thing that sticks out to me as one of our possible tools is factoring. Okay, so I'm going to do limit as x approaches 4 of, we have x minus 4, quantity of x minus 4 times the quantity of x minus 1, all over the quantity of x minus 4 times the quantity of x plus 2. The x minus 4's will cancel and be left with the limit as x approaches 4 of x minus 1 over x plus 2. And when I substitute in there 4 minus 1 over 4 plus 2, I get 3/6 or 1/2.